Now, as we recover from the devastation of Fran, we look at the churning waters of the Atlantic and wonder, has North Carolina once again become Hurricane Alley? I'm Ken Downing, and welcome to Hurricane Alley, a title given to the North Carolina coast in the 50s after it was hit 7 times in a 2-year period. During the next hour, I'll be joined by many members of the TV3 Eyewitness News team as we take a look at what is this year's hurricane season for southeastern North Carolina. We'll have lots of video. Much of it, many of you who have been without power for the last week will be seeing for the first time. We'll also talk about this year's hurricane season, which still has a long way to go. Stay tuned.
It was a significant event. If you're looking for something in terms of a comparison, it is somewhat like a Hugo event, but not quite that magnitude. Certainly much larger than what we went through just a few weeks ago with Hurricane Bertha.
Tough Nissan 4x4 truck. How could you use its power today? Now get a powerful deal on the Nissan 4x2 King Cab truck at your local Nissan dealer's model year end clearance. End September 30th.
Wow, this is big!
It is big news, Clarence, because these are the absolute final days of Ford's factory authorized clearance. Now get $1,500 cash back or low 3.9% financing on the #1 selling Taurus. That's a whopping $1,500 cash back. But hurry, because $1,500 cash back or low 3.9% financing on Taurus won't last long.
Wow, how about that?
It's the final days of clearance, so hurry into your Carolina Ford dealer today.
These are the best deals of the year.
If you live in North Carolina and you have children, you've got to take care of them.
Too many parents don't. So Governor Jim Hunt started a crackdown on deadbeat parents. If they don't pay their child support, they can lose their business and professional licenses, their driver's license, even end up on a most wanted poster. Already, 17 of the top 20 deadbeats have been tracked down. Millions of dollars collected.
It's time that deadbeat parents start taking responsibility instead of relying on others to take care of their families. We've got to do this for the sake of the children.
From the people who brought you one clever idea after another comes the Plymouth Clever Clearance. It's the end of the model year, and right now you can get a Plymouth Voyager starting at just $16,615. $1,000 cash back or 1.9% APR on Plymouth Neon. Or you can breeze into a brand new Plymouth Breeze with $1,000 cash back. The Plymouth Clever Clearance. It's one clever way to save after another.
Carolina Chrysler Plymouth, proud to be the official vehicles of the Carolina Panthers.
More refinements, more comfort, more standard features. You already know more is better, but in this case, it's better than ever. The new Toyota Camry. It'll be here in a flash.
Hurricane season starts on June 1st. It runs through November 30th. But here in southeastern North Carolina, our hurricane season isn't really supposed to begin till August 1st. Our concerns normally grow greater as we go through the month of August, the month of September, and into the month of October. But this year, Mother Nature had a left hook to throw at us, something that we'd not seen before, not only here, but anywhere in North Carolina. And that was a July hurricane. Let's look back at Hurricane Bertha. It was July 12th, 1996. We had been watching Bertha for the better part of a week, and by the time it got here, the night before the landfall over southeastern North Carolina, hopes were high that Bertha might actually be downgraded to a tropical storm. A meteorologist friend of mine had sort of called it a knife fight that Bertha had lost. Strong upper-level winds and dry air had torn the storm up considerably. The Hurricane Center considered downgrading it to a tropical storm at 5 a.m. on Thursday the 12th, but decided at the last minute they would leave it a minimal hurricane. A good thing they did, because just before landfall on the 12th, Bertha, over the Gulf Stream, suddenly began what we in the business call explosive development. From a disorganized Category 1 minimal hurricane, Bertha blew up in a matter of several hours into a strong Category 2 hurricane with sustained winds of 105 miles an hour, gusting as high as 115 miles an hour. The full wrath of Bertha making landfall over southeastern North Carolina. The eye went over the eastern part of New Hanover County, over Pender County, and on inland. Unfortunately, the right front quadrant of the eye wall, the place where the strongest winds and storm surge would be felt in a hurricane, went over the northern part of Topsail Island, and North Topsail took a tremendous beating out of Hurricane Bertha. Ironically, because of where landfall was, Brunswick County got off comparatively light. Yes, there was damage. Yes, they had problems. But the winds were offshore during the landfall of the hurricane, so storm surge was not a problem. And it was on the west side of the eye, so it was on the weaker side of the hurricane, if you will. Meanwhile, most winds in Wilmington and around our area gusted to around hurricane force, but that was all. The strongest winds stayed along the beach communities, which took a terrible pounding. Carolina and Curie beaches were beat up pretty bad. Wrightsville Beach was beat up as well, but not as bad because of the eye coming right over the beach. Pender County took a pretty good lick as well, particularly the northern end of Topsail Island and on into southern Onslow County, where North Topsail Beach is located. The good thing, if you can find a silver lining with Bertha, is because it was so weakened before it made its landfall and finally that explosive development right there, it did not have time to become a major hurricane. And when it made landfall, it weakened rather rapidly, dropping to tropical storm strength fairly quickly and on to tropical depression strength a short while later, allowing us to almost literally get out and begin surveying the damage and begin the repairs fairly quickly. We thought, we've seen our hurricane for 1996. The first time since '84 one had come ashore here. We've done our bit for hurricanes. We're done now. Somebody else's problem. It wasn't to be. Moved to September 1996. Hurricane Fran comes roaring up the southeast coast of the United States, and unlike Bertha, Fran was a well-defined Category 3 hurricane all the way up the coast. As a matter of fact, there was some fear as it got over the Gulf Stream it might intensify to a Category 4 storm, which would wreak complete devastation. The good news was it drew some dry air in right there. That prevented it from intensifying any further, and it hung on as a Category 3 hurricane with 115-mile-per-hour winds, gusting up as high as 127 miles an hour, but it did not strengthen further. But the lick that Fran was able to give was horrendous. Carolina and Curie beaches, right there as the eye started to come on shore, were devastated. Wrightsville Beach, for the second time, you placed the eye perfectly for it to get off with Shell Island surviving, and with the beach being badly damaged but not devastated. Not so this time for the southern half of Topsail Island, which had escaped the wrath of Bertha, with North Topsail taking the most severe beating. This time it was Surf City and Topsail Beach that were decimated by Hurricane Fran. And Fran held on to her power as she moved inland, devastating crops and houses and trees and power lines well into the inland areas of southeastern North Carolina. Hurricane Fran will long be remembered as one of the strongest hurricanes to ever make landfall in southeastern North Carolina. No, it wasn't as strong as Hazel, but we had more here to lose this time, and it certainly showed as we surveyed the damage. Now, when we return, John Evans turns back the clock as we prepare for the arrival of the very unwelcome guest, Hurricane Fran. Don't go away.
If we look at today's gas gauge, it looks something like this. Where do we want to turn on the low fuel light?
There was a lot of debate about that. You remember that, Jeff?
I remember.
Front edge of the E?
No, right towards
Right over here.
the middle of the E. 20 of Saturn's best engineers
For 2 hours debating this. We know how long the track is. We know how much fuel we have. We ought to be able to predict when it runs out of fuel, wouldn't you say?
All right. Yeah.
When you run out of fuel, we call it a crisis. When engineers run out of fuel, we call it a test.
Make a fashion statement this fall with a fabulous wardrobe from the Men's Fashion Corner. Whether it's on-the-go casual wear or designer suits, you'll find it all at the Men's Fashion Corner. Shop in a relaxed environment while letting our knowledgeable staff assist you. Come in today and take advantage of hot prices on cool clothing. You'll find only the finest quality brands for your shopping pleasure. Prepare to make your statement with styles. From the Men's Fashion Corner at the Light in Castlehane.
For more than 25 years, Salem National Lease Corporation has set the standard for transportation excellence. Now they are offering their off-lease trucks for sale. The value in our trucks lies in their maintenance. All Salem National Lease trucks have been maintained by Salem's own staff of factory-trained technicians. Our trucks are clean, well-maintained, and we have a variety to choose from. If you're in the market for a lease-maintained tractor or trailer, call today or stop by and see why a Salem truck is the best truck. Salem National Lease Corporation, excellence in transportation.
Looking for a stylish wagon at a price you can afford? Don't look at Saturn or Corolla. The Hyundai Elantra has much more for less. Need more power and more room? Leave Corolla and Saturn behind. Elantra has more. The wagon that comes with standard dual airbags costs just $10,214 after $2,000 cash back. That's over $4,400 less than Corolla. And you can get no money down and no payments for 90 days. So be smart and buy smart. Drive home the Elantra wagon for just $10,214. See your Hyundai dealer today.
Haverty's is not only a name you can depend on for affordable name brand furniture. We're also a premier source for top quality bedding.
How long have I been sleeping?
About 20 years.
5 more minutes?
And now, get a better night's rest for much less during Haverty's bedding sale.
Could more than one hurricane hit the North Carolina coast in the same hurricane season? Well, with Fran spinning in the direction of the Carolinas, it looked as if Brunswick County and southeastern North Carolina was the most likely North Carolina area to be affected by the storm. Officials put the area under a state of emergency at 5 Wednesday, September 4th, and began to make plans to evacuate the area beach towns. But even with that impending threat, our Paul Spellman found residents still sitting tight, waiting and watching.
While the waves are getting rougher, a sense of calm still persists in Sunset Beach. The town is currently more endangered by Hurricane Fran than any other community in North Carolina. But vacationers still flock to the beaches and pier Wednesday to get some last recreation time.
Good ways from home and want to stay long as we can, but we'll be moving out if we think we need to.
And she'll need to sooner than she thinks. A voluntary evacuation of all Brunswick County beach towns will go into effect at 6 Thursday morning, with a mandatory evacuation likely by 8. Officials say it's necessary due to the immense strength and size of Hurricane Fran.
Even if it comes in at Charleston, as it's predicted right now, we're still looking at 80, 90-mile-an-hour winds here in Brunswick County.
To ward off the wind, some residents were already putting up metal shutters Wednesday. But despite warnings, the vast majority of homes were left unprotected. But when it comes to getting out, most say they'll heed the call. The only problem may be how. A big concern here at Sunset Beach is this single-lane floating bridge. It's the only way off the island and could make for a long, slow evacuation. So beach occupants like Mark Kaplan say they're ready to go at a moment's notice.
Well, this one is reminiscent of Hugo, and that did a lot of damage over here, so we're not going to take any chances. If they tell us to leave, we're leaving.
But for now, residents say they'll just go about their business while keeping a keen eye on the horizon.
While many folks in Sunset Beach were squeezing in last-minute recreation time, a lot of area merchants struggled to keep their shelves stocked as folks started buying up the basics in preparation for a possible strike from Hurricane Fran.
It was an all-too-familiar sight at area shopping centers Wednesday afternoon. The imminent threat of Hurricane Fran had residents scurrying to stock up on supplies.
$4.99. All right, let's have two. Sir? Let's have two. You want two of them?
Generators, batteries, flashlights, and gasoline cans were big sellers. And sheets of plywood were made to order. Guy Armstrong was on vacation visiting his family and never expected he would run into bad weather. Now, he's buying $100 worth of plywood to board up a family business.
And do you have any of the smaller cans of the bar oil, or just those great big cans?
No, we're out of those already. All we have left is one.
David Hassel wore out his chain on the chainsaw he bought prior to Bertha. Now he needs a new one.
Hope not. I've had my fill after the Bertha. I'm tired of hurricanes.
Front property, it's time to get out of town and start heading back towards the west.
The manager of this Lowe's says he likes the business a hurricane generates, but doesn't want the storm to hurt their patrons.
We are here. We'll do anything we can as far as getting product in for the customer and getting them squared away.
Thursday, September 5th, the threat of Hurricane Fran is even more imminent. TV3's Marguerite Ayers and Kim Kopka found New Hanover County beach towns in full preparation.
Curie Beach's pier was battered by Bertha. Now what's left will probably be finished by Fran. Less than 2 months after a beating by Bertha, Carolina and Curie Beaches now have Fran's name on them. Residents spent the morning boarding up. The marina sat empty as commercial fishing boats headed for the Cape Fear River. Jim Ring rode out Bertha on Curie Beach. She was a small storm, but her winds were enough to make him leave this time.
Yeah, a little bit different this time. I'm calling for a much stronger storm, and so we're packing up and leaving.
Portions of Curie Beach are as much as 24 feet above sea level. But with storm surge tides of 15 feet or more forecasted, residents don't expect there to be much left here when they return.
I'm just glad Curie Beach is pretty high above sea level. Where we're standing right now, we're about 15, 16 feet above sea level. So we're hoping for the best, but it's just so iffy, and you don't know where the eye's coming in exactly.
It just seems too soon. Why is Mother Nature targeting our coast again when so many haven't recovered from the first storm? In Carolina and Curie Beaches, Marguerite Ayers, TV3 Eyewitness News.
I'm Kim Kopka reporting from Wrightsville Beach. Most of the people still on the roads were either leaving or trying to get one last look at the beach before the island closed today. There were still a few boarding up their homes and rental property.
Basically, we're just boarding up windows and doors, for Brunt Real Estate.
So you have to come out here and do several different places?
Yeah, we have packets to do. We have like 20 houses.
Town officials say a lot of people left the island when they called for a voluntary evacuation Wednesday. By this morning, officials estimate there were only about 5,000 to 7,000 people left.
We decided late last night as we were going to pack up. We carried 2 loads off the beach last night to Bargoff and finished up this morning.
While a lot of people were busy boarding up or packing to move inland, the rough seas and big waves are still an attraction for many. But for those who do decide to stay on the island, they'll be completely on their own.
Well, it's going to be pretty tough because before it gets to hurricane force winds, we're probably going to cut the power. Immediately when the evacuation is set to be terminated, then we will begin our shutdown procedure for our water and sewer operations. Once that's done, obviously you can't have water to your facility, you won't have the toilet facilities. Then ultimately the power will be cut, so you'll be here under primitive conditions.
And if this storm hits harder than Bertha like it's expected to, we may all be living under primitive conditions for a while.
As areas in southeastern North Carolina prepared for Hurricane Fran, many residents talked about the impact or lack of impact that Hurricane Bertha made.
And I don't care what happens if they carry me out in a body bag. I'm not leaving.
But staying at home could be deadly, because while Bertha was strong, as hurricanes go, it wasn't one of the stronger ones.
Hurricane was a very mild shot. We were very fortunate that it wasn't worse.
A revolutionary new method for home construction has risen, steel. That's why Southern Pride Realty American Homes of Steel are at the top, building frames made of steel that can withstand winds of 130 miles per hour plus. They install durable hardy plank or hardy panel siding with a 50-year warranty. These incredible homes are energy efficient, allergy-free, competitively priced, and can be custom built. Come out of the woods. The future is here. Build your home or business with steel framing by Southern Pride Realty American Homes of Steel.
This is an urgent message. Forecaster William Gray states 2 of the 6 hurricanes predicted to hit the Atlantic coast this year will be Category 3 storms. Hurricanes are one of the most destructive forces of nature. Their winds can turn ordinary objects into deadly missiles. Rollaway's home security shutters are designed to protect your home or business from high winds, projectiles, or break-ins, and they meet or exceed the toughest building codes in the country. Call Home Base Rollaway today for free information. Rollaway. Never before has a peace of mind been so affordable.
I keep my home in top running conditions. I only buy the best.
For your heating and cooling needs, call Tidewater Heating and Air, your independent Lennox dealer.
Imagine my surprise when I discovered heat pumps just 8 years old may not be as efficient as newer ones.
Tidewater Heating and Air can install a new Lennox unit for you.
So I replaced my old one with a new one from Lennox.
They can help cut heating and cooling bills up to 40%.
Now my home runs like a finely oiled machine.
Tidewater Heating and Air Conditioning is a CP&L quality electric heat pump dealer.
Just Sofas thinks it's time to start helping the people who keep helping us through these terrible disasters like Fran. So now through October 31st, every time someone makes a furniture purchase at any Just Sofa store, Just Sofas will donate $20 of that purchase price to the Salvation Army or the American Red Cross, whichever charity the customer prefers. All funds donated by Just Sofas will be specifically earmarked for use only as relief funds for Hurricane Fran damage and victims.
I'm John Evans, and welcome back to our special look back at the 1996 hurricane season thus far. A season for southeastern North Carolina which began seriously with Hurricane Bertha. It seemed at the time Bertha was going to be the worst storm we would face this year, and in its wake, many were thankful for the relatively mild amount of damage it inflicted. Chainsaws cut away at the downed limbs and the trees that fell throughout the 5 or 6 county area. In Chestnut Heights, part of Wilmington, a tree crashed onto a roof, Glendale Barton's house. Mr. Barton was thankful power lines were able to support the tree's weight and keep it off the house until help arrived. On the Cape Fear River, tugboats were quickly moving into action to move an old Navy ship that had been turned around during the storm and crashed into a pier. The business district of downtown Wilmington was spared major damage during Bertha, and most owners were able to get things back to normal fairly quickly. Authorities were also reminding people to beware of scam artists preying on victims of Hurricane Bertha. The big talk after Hurricane Bertha was from beach town residents who saw little damage around them and became upset at not being allowed back home sooner. Many said the next time they weren't going to evacuate from another storm. In a rather ironic twist, Paul Spellman did a story with weather experts on just what might happen the next time around.
Hurricane Bertha beat up on the Cape Fear region, battering homes and ravaging the shoreline. But with the exception of one Onslow County man who died when his respirator lost power, no one was actually killed by the storm. This may be why some beach residents say next time they won't evacuate, so they don't have to wait in line again to return to their homes.
And I don't care what happens if they carry me out in a body bag. I'm not leaving.
But staying at home could be deadly, because while Bertha was strong, as hurricanes go, it wasn't one of the stronger ones.
Hurricane was a very mild shot. We were very fortunate that it wasn't worse. Of course, we were unfortunate that it was as bad as it was.
Most of what hit New Hanover County and the beaches were strong Category 1 winds, around 90 miles an hour. But the wind force of a hurricane increases exponentially, so Category 2 winds, like those that hit North Topsail Beach, were about twice as strong. A Category 4 hurricane, such as Andrew, would have caused much more massive damage than Bertha.
So a much more substantial storm is going to be a true emergency and a true life and death situation. We're not going to be able to come in there and rescue you in that situation if you elect to stay.
Meanwhile, many of those who did stay this time around say seeing a hurricane up close once is more than enough.
It was a whole lot tougher than I thought. I think if I'd had a second chance, I probably would have left.
And emergency planners hope others do the same.
Now, whether it was from Paul's story or just from some other sense they had, as Fran approached, the beach residents we saw earlier did clear out. And it's a good thing they did. The devastation Fran brought has been frighteningly compared to Hazel. When we come back, Joel Callahan takes us into the storm called Hurricane Fran.
This is an urgent message. Forecaster William Gray states 2 of the 6 hurricanes predicted to hit the Atlantic coast this year will be Category 3 storms. Hurricanes are one of the most destructive forces of nature. Their winds can turn ordinary objects into deadly missiles. Rollaway's home security shutters are designed to protect your home or business from high winds, projectiles, or break-ins, and they meet or exceed the toughest building codes in the country. Call Home Base Rollaway today for free information. Rollaway. Never before has a peace of mind been so affordable.
Finding someone to service our heat pump was like finding the right family doctor.
If you ever have a home comfort problem, call Tom Crittenden at Tidewater Heating and Air.
We wanted someone we could trust.
They'll give you the best customer service.
Who knows what they're doing?
Tidewater Heating and Air has passed the Lennox Quality Dealer Standards.
Someone who really delivers.
Delivers?
Tidewater Heating and Air Conditioning is a CP&L quality electric heat pump dealer. Lennox, one less thing to worry about.
And unfortunately, that's the weather picture for tonight.
Roger is a weatherman. He knows the difference between little storms and big storms. And recently, when he saw a big one coming, the first place he went was his Honda generator dealer.
Hey, you're the weatherman. I need a real good generator.
And by the time the storm hit, Roger was prepared.
Visit Honest Engine at our new location, 939 South Carr Avenue. Honest Engine, your Honda dealer.
Able Installation and Construction makes decks all sizes and shapes. They can also convert a porch to a glassed enclosed sitting room. They can add another room to your home or build that garage or carport. Able Installation and Construction will get it done right. Be sure to ask about the #1 addition in the country, the 4-season sunroom. From great rooms to a room for your hot tub, you'll find a 4-season sunroom for you. Able has the best awnings under the sun, Eastern. Come by and see the display at 3934 Market Street. Able's doing it right.
Just Sofas thinks it's time to start helping the people who keep helping us through these terrible disasters like Fran. So now through October 31st, every time someone makes a furniture purchase at any Just Sofas store, Just Sofas will donate $20 of that purchase price to the Salvation Army or the American Red Cross, whichever charity the customer prefers. All funds donated by Just Sofas will be specifically earmarked for use only as relief funds for Hurricane Fran damage and victims.
At 8:45 p.m. near the mouth of the Cape Fear River in Southport, Hurricane Fran made landfall. It had maximum wind gust of 105 miles per hour, and rainfall was 6 inches in Wilmington, 8 inches along the coast. Welcome back to our TV3 Eyewitness News special, Hurricane Alley 96. I'm Jill Callahan. As Fran moved on shore, we at Eyewitness News had already geared up with continuous coverage. With us was a crew from ABC's Nightline. Their photographer, a veteran of other storms, braved the elements to capture some sensational images of Fran in action. He joined us later from the newsroom to give us a feeling of what full-force Fran was like.
Well, we just got back, and basically my drill is I like to get out there while the utilities are still on, because once the lights go out, then you really can't see anything. And it's blowing pretty well out there. I mean, at this point, you have the police that are sort of just checking to make sure nobody's in any kind of a real problem. And I would say this is about 7:30 here, and you can see the lights are really kicking up. I'd say you probably have like 30, 40 knot winds at this point. As we were out there, the winds just picked up, and you could really start to see them swirl and really come bearing down right from that northeast. basically we sit in the van and kind of position the van where the wind and rain is at our back, except for this particular shot. And you can, if you listen, you can hear the howling. It's really starting to pick up, and as you can hear that howling in the background. And I'd say now we're getting up that 50 and 60 knots, and maybe even greater at that point. And you can start seeing the swirls, and it's really getting quite powerful. Anything in the street, of course, is fair game. It's a projectile. I think all those trash cans are going to be non-existent by morning time. And here's a pedestrian trying to make his way home, and of course he gets tangled up with the trash can, woo, it's gone. And these newspaper boxes, they're all going to be laying over on their sides, and transformers are blowing up everywhere. I'm really trying to roll a lot of tape to try and get a transformer to blow, and of course I didn't get one. They blow up behind me or next to me or whatever. This is right by the police station here, not too far from them, and it's really, it's actually getting powerful at this point. You can, inside the van, you can actually feel the power, and the van is just sort of being not rocked, but it's actually being pushed, which is kind of, you see how the sheets are coming across there, and almost coming across, this is what I call horizontal rain. I mean, at some points the rain's not even touching the ground, it's just going from left to right, or at this point it's really going northeast straight into the south. And you see the way this rain is going now, it's really blowing out of the northeast. That's the northeast to the right of the frame. And I would say by about midnight, thereabouts, I'm not a meteorologist, but what you're going to see is you're going to see it kind of die down a bit, which is a real dangerous point, because people are going to stick their little heads out and say, well, it must be over. And then it's going to come back full force, the opposite direction. I never did, and that's a real dangerous point, because the hurricane now is building up slowly. You get to the eye when it's real powerful, but as the eye passes over, it'll be a straight wall, and it'll just pick up immediately. There'll be no warning, and it can be quite dangerous at that point.
In addition to the Nightline crew, our own photographers braved the weather as the last ounces of daylight began to fade.
But Chad was out not too long later after Alan was. This looks like, again, downtown video before light, maybe, about 8 o'clock. Some of the video downtown. Again, at this point in time, a lot of it was coming in swells. Now it seemed to get a little more constant. But this is what looks to be Market Street here. Again, the
wind just whipping around.
And this looks like it must be Dawson, a fire. This is out in Oleander near South College, where they were saying a sign had come down. Again, it looks, this is raw videotape again, by the way. It's not being edited. There's a sign across the 3 lanes worth of Oleander Drive. And again, the thing that I guess this is, wow, that's water on the road itself. I thought for a second that was a marina, but it looks exactly just, I mean, it was actual puddled water on the roads.
Yeah, I think that we'll see a lot of flooding before it's all over with.
Yeah, and again, this is going out on Randall Parkway. Again, Paul Spellman was telling us that at this time they were starting to develop a lot of rain in the sides of the roadways, and it was becoming very dangerous. Again, first light tomorrow may give us just the signs of devastation around southeastern North Carolina by some of the reports that we're getting.
During our hurricane coverage, we were in touch with dozens of town officials, emergency management personnel, residents, and others who passed along information about the storm's progress and impact. Here are just a couple of minutes of what those conversations were like.
What are you experiencing where you are?
We've got real high winds in the 75, 80 mile an hour range. Very, very strong rains, probably upwards of 6 inches of rain so far. We've had quite a few trees blocking roadways. We've had some structural damage, some roofs blown off buildings. A lot of the glass in some of our business areas have been blown out of the storefronts.
Carson, how are things up there your way?
Well, we the past about half hour to an hour, we are experiencing some of the worst conditions we've seen tonight. It looks like the very north or the northeast part of the eye as it approaches our area is definitely being felt, especially on the east side of the county, on the Thompsonville Beach, Surf City, Hampstead area.
Are you out and about at this hour?
Well, I was out about 30 minutes ago. I'm staying on 3rd Street right behind Dairy Queen in Curry Beach.
and I got down to the water by the docksider, and the whole bulkhead from about the dock, from like the docksider all the way to the pier is totally eroded, and the water is breaking on both the hotels there.
What kind of reports have you been getting in recently as far as damage and flooding around the county?
Okay. We have not gotten a whole lot of damage assessment reports, primarily because it's so difficult to negotiate the streets in Wilmington. There's a lot of flooding, especially in the southern part of the county. Carolina Beach has 4 to 8 feet of water, and basically the whole north end of the beach is underwater.
There's damage throughout Onslow County, trees and power lines down universally around the county. I've just got a report there's a roof off of a house on 258. We've got some trailers that have been rolled over. We have a Richlands trailer roof that's caved in Gregory Fork Road with 3 people reported trapped.
Can you tell us, as far as the latest information you have concerning the damage out there at Wrightsville Beach?
The last I heard was during the our people were going to try to assess the damage. The water was so high on this side of the drawbridge that they couldn't cross the bridge to see what was going on. But as of 7:30, the pier was still there, but we just have major street flooding and things like that.
After Fran passed, we breathed easy and tried to rest because we feared with daylight the worst was yet to come.
How do you test the ultimate 4x4? Well, let's just say the ends of the earth is a great place to start. Introducing the new special edition Jeep Cherokee Classic.
This may sound funny, but as an assistant manager at Belk, I walk through the store, and when I see people find what they want, it's a good feeling. I'm seeing that a lot now because we have our annual fall sale going on. Customers are finding great prices on all the newest looks for fall. Missy coordinates and separates are 30% off from your favorite names. Women's pumps from 9 West, Calico, and Liz Claiborne are all on sale too. People like value. They like to save money. Come on into the fall sale at Belk. You'll have a great time. I know I do.
Warehouse Discount Furniture. Really? Our warehouse is big, but our savings are bigger. Any style of furniture. Why pay retail? Why wait for a sale? You can always save with us for sure. Really furnish for less. Warehouse Discount Furniture. Really?
Today we're everything. Career women, coaches, bus drivers. That's why we need a vehicle as diverse as a Chevy Blazer. It's everything. A car, a station wagon, a work truck. It rides like a car, has standard features you'll love, and a price over $2,200 less than Ford Explorer and $5,000 less than Grand Cherokee. The Chevy Blazer offers a woman everything she needs. For everything she's doing. See for yourself. Visit your Carolina Chevy Geo dealer today.
There is a better way to get that great smoky taste. Golden Corral's new Smokehouse Combo. A fresh-cut sirloin and boneless chicken breast, both with that great smokehouse taste. Just $5.99 for a limited time, only Golden Corral.
tell one story, the numbers tell another. 670,000 CP&L customers without power. 840 reports of lost telephone service. Thousands of residents without water services, hundreds left homeless. Southeastern North Carolina has awakened to the aftermath of a Category 3 hurricane.
Topsail Island is starting to resemble Beirut. Homes look as though they've been bombed, and the National Guard now patrols the beach. Hurricane Fran came through Pender County Thursday with a vengeance. With dunes already low due to Bertha, Fran simply washed over the island, causing millions of dollars in damage, creating inlets where they didn't exist before. Inland damage is also widespread, although less extensive. So many homes and trailers have been affected, even residents left untouched seem stunned.
It's pretty rough. I really don't know what to think. It could have been mine.
Meanwhile, inland flooding continues to cause problems here. Many roads are still impassable, even to four-wheel drive vehicles.
We all live up in the Hampstead area, and we've tried to get through there on 17 and couldn't. Tried to get on 210, couldn't. Thought we'd try coming into Holly Ridge, and obviously can't get through that way either.
Several homes are now literally islands as the rain overwhelmed area storm drains. To give you some indication of how much water Hurricane Fran dumped on this area, residents say there isn't a river anywhere near here.
I've lived here since 1959. I've never seen this much water here.
The storm has had such a widespread impact in Pender County, it's next to impossible to gauge the full extent of the damage. But the more they see, the more residents have to be asking, what did we do to deserve this?
Splintered boards, toppled gas station signs, pink chunks of insulation. Homes crushed into the sand. From Topsail Beach to Curie Beach, the story was the same.
It won't take months to recover from this storm. It will take years. Hurricane Fran has changed miles of the coastline forever. At Curie Beach, nearly 300 homes are destroyed. At Carolina Beach, the beachfront is where Carolina Avenue used to be. The water had no mercy on sand or wood, or even concrete. It's all a frustrating mess. Dan and Judy McLaughlin were called back to the beach to salvage what they could. Wind-driven water moved their home across the street.
It was my house in the middle of the road, so we called down and they said, yeah, come on down and get your stuff out so that they can bulldoze the house off the road.
So much was lost here. For many, Fran represents not only a major natural disaster, but a benchmark in their lives, because replacing items lost in the storm and rebuilding will be more like starting over.
Seeing your neighbors hurt, it's not good. These are all my friends here, and all of their lives, including mine, is changed now. It's different. It's going to be kind of before Fran and after Fran.
Those who stayed woke Friday to see what Fran had done to their island. The National Guard came in to help reclaim this disaster area. It just isn't safe for residents to come back.
Is there any way I could get some supplies and take them to them and promise to leave?
No, ma'am. There's a place right here that's just in knots because, you know, I don't want to go through what I went through with the other one. I heard they were calling for thunderstorms this evening. If I don't have a roof, it's going to be the same thing over again.
Residents will return on Sunday to see what is left and begin picking up the pieces again. This time, it's much worse.
Hurricane Fran's winds did not spare inland areas. In Burgaw, trees littered the lawn of the courthouse. Duplin County had trees on roofs, signs in pieces, and power lines hung limp from poles. In Columbus County, families also struggled to bounce back from Fran's fury.
You know, it was like real calm, and then all of a sudden, here come a power wind. And that's when the roof went, but everything was...
The Bordeaux family spent the morning trying to put the roof back on their mobile home. They had planned to leave home if the storm got too bad.
Well, we kept thinking, well, we'll go, you know, on over to his grandma's, which she lived next door, but every time we thought we'd get out, it seemed like the wind would get higher and it'd start raining harder, so there was just no way of escaping.
These folks were trying to escape the storm when they got stuck in the storm.
About 9 o'clock last night, the wind just picked the car up and throwed it in the ditch.
And that's where they spent the night. Mr. Brown and his girlfriend had left their Curie Beach home and were driving inland. But before they got stuck in the ditch, they got hit by debris.
Oh, riding down the road, a log off of a tree fell and hit it. Scared the out of me.
A scary experience is how both Mr. Brown and the Bordeaux describe being stuck in the storm. An experience they say they don't want to go through again.
Since Hurricane Fran caused disaster of such magnitude, the Federal Emergency Management Agency rushed in 2 urban search and rescue teams to the North Topsail Beach area, where rumors of unaccounted-for citizens were circulating. The experienced searchers covered the entire area looking for survivors or victims among the destroyed homes. We were happy to report later they did not find any victims or have to rescue any survivors. At least not human ones. They did find 3 kittens and a mama cat under a collapsed condominium. The kittens seemed happy to see the FEMA team. They were hungry and a little scared, but otherwise all right. As we've shown so far, Fran packed a furious punch throughout the area. And as beach residents who sought shelter in Wilmington or in Leland will tell you, there was no escape from Fran's fury.
It will take days and days before the Days Inn in Wilmington will recover from this damage. Hotels were supposed to be a safe place for beach residents coming inland, but 2 turned out to be Fran's victims. Her 100-plus winds blew the east wing roof right off the Days Inn, leaving a skylight view of Wilmington after Fran. The situation was just about the same at a Market Street Hampton Inn. TV3's neighbors Amont Shipping took a big blow from Fran. The pops and rumbles outside our studio turned out to be the top of their building coming down. And on Shannon Drive in Wilmington, residents there were seeing for the first time the devastation Fran has left behind. Further inland in Brunswick County, Leland looks like a war zone as trees take over the streets. Some had more of a destructive path. This home now has a severe structural damage after a hit from this oak. Power outages, debris like this sign, and flooding are major problems for this inland town. And onlookers are causing even more havoc.
They're tying up traffic, our traffic lights are out, and it's causing problems for people trying to get out of these side roads. They're getting in our way. Thank you very much. Bye.
Lines curve the width of the Waffle House as people waited hours for a hot meal. At midday Friday, it was the only place serving in town. John Benton was ready for his cup of coffee.
Come out here every day.
Hurricane Fran just altered his routine, his and a lot of others.
When we return, Kim Kopko will wrap things up with more Fran highlights and a look at the Carolina coast's place in hurricane history.
Haverty's is not only a name you can depend on for affordable name brand furniture. We're also a premier source for top quality bedding.
How long have I been sleeping?
About 20 years.
5 more minutes?
And now, get a better night's rest for much less during Haverty's bedding sale.
Even though you may have never used a steel chainsaw, you already know how it feels to cut with one. Now available in steel territory, starting at only $199.95.
The 021 Steel Wood Boss. You not only get a good price, but it's available with a 2-year warranty. See both the 009 Steel Mini Boss and the 021 Steel Wood Boss at Honest Engine Equipment Company, 939 South Carr Avenue, Wilmington.
In America, you are not required to offer food to the hungry or shelter to the homeless. There is no ordinance forcing you to visit the lonely or comfort the infirm. fact, nowhere in the Constitution does it say you have to provide anything for anybody. Thank you for all you've given. Imagine what more could do.
The damage estimates from Hurricane Fran in North Carolina are likely to run into the billions of dollars. The governor has already reported early estimates topping $2 billion. Repairing public facilities like water systems, bridges, roads, and beaches could cost $500 million. And the worst part is it will be months before it all plays out. I'm Kim Kopka. Welcome back as we continue our look at this year's hurricane season to date. Fran made several problems exposed by Hurricane Bertha even worse. One of them, debris. Many of us had just cleaned up from Bertha when Fran came rolling in.
Debris is piling up at area dump sites. Trucks have already hauled 5,000 tons of debris into Wilmington Materials on Highway 421, the largest dump site, and they estimate there's still 200,000 to 300,000 tons left to pick up.
It's just been bedlam out here. There are over 120 trucks hauling. We opened Saturday morning. We had worked 7 days a week since Bertha, since the 14th of July. We were off Labor Day weekend, and here we are again.
Homeowners can also bring their debris here for free. The county is picking up the tab, but homeowners will have to unload it themselves. To avoid the truck traffic, the best time to come is on the weekend.
I wish they'd just keep it in their yard for a while, but I know they want to get it out of there, but just the volume of material coming in.
But for those who are waiting for the county or the city to pick it up, officials just ask them to be patient.
We're going to be emphasizing primary roads, secondary roads, and then the bus routes, which means that some side roads will get skipped, but we're going to get those buses back on those routes as quickly as possible.
And they ask residents to please not put debris in the road, thinking it will get picked up sooner. That just impedes traffic. They say they will get to everyone. It just may take a while.
While some of Fran's destruction lay in piles of debris, some scenes from Fran will stay with us long after the debris is cleaned up. One of those images is the 130-year-old steeple of First Baptist Church laying in ruin at the corner of 5th and Market. Another is the ice lines that seem to go around and around Rose Ice and Cole. And we'll probably never forget the thousands of CP&L crews, the hundreds of National Guardsmen, and the countless number of Red Cross, United Way, and Salvation Army volunteers who came to our aid. The Carolina coast hasn't seen so many storms since the 50s, so it is important to take a moment and put these hurricanes in historical perspective as part of a much larger story that has pitted man against nature for centuries.
His business is marine science. Jay Barnes is the director of the North Carolina Aquarium at Pine Knoll Shores. But Friday, he was in Wilmington and was talking about something that hits close to home: hurricanes.
As a Category 3 storm.
Barnes is the author of North Carolina's hurricane history. His lecture at the Cape Fear Museum Friday covered many of the hurricanes known to have struck the Tar Heel state, from the days of the first European explorers through Hurricane Emily in the summer of 1993. Barnes told of their destruction.
When you're talking about going way back to the last century, the storm of 1899, which came ashore right about Halloween, we had a hurricane in 1893, we had a bad one in 1882.
Barnes talked about two of the most devastating. Hurricane Hazel, which hit our coast in October of 1954, and another Category 4 storm, Hugo, which hit the South Carolina coast in 1989.
Hurricane Hazel and Hurricane Hugo were similar in intensity. Both were Category 4 storms when they came ashore. The difference primarily would be that Hugo struck the South Carolina coast a little bit farther down. Hazel came ashore right about the South Carolina-North Carolina line. Hazel really went through the Raleigh, on up through Virginia, Pennsylvania, New York, and even into Canada.
He touched on Diana. She struck our coast in 1984, and although not around our area, Hurricane Andrew left the people of Dade County, Florida, in awe. Memorable hurricanes have left their mark throughout the country, taking numerous lives and reshaping coastlines. The most recent were Bertha and Fran, which will become milestones in local history. In Wilmington, Angela Sparrow, TV3 Eyewitness News.
Bertha and Fran are hurricane milestones that have once again prompted folks to call the North Carolina coastline Hurricane Alley. Now, for those of you that have heard that the Farmer's Almanac has called for 3 storms to strike our coast this year, from a scientific standpoint, there is no way to predict in advance where a hurricane will strike. However, we want to warn you that hurricane season doesn't end until November. So always stay prepared and stay tuned to TV3 Eyewitness News, coverage you can count on, good weather and bad. For everyone who worked on Hurricane Alley 96, thanks for watching.
If you'd like a VHS copy of this program, send a check or money order for $31.50 to WWAY, P.O. Box 2068, Wilmington, North Carolina, 28402. Proceeds from the sale of this video will go to benefit the Red Cross Disaster Relief Fund.